Hey there, climate warriors and curious minds. Welcome back to another mind expanding episode of Are We Fucked? Today, we're taking a bit of a detour into the mystical world of psychedelics with a special focus on ayahuasca and its deep connection to nature. Our guest today is someone who bridges the gap between the spiritual and the scientific. Meet Manuel Villaescusa, a clinical psychologist, researcher, and musician who's been diving deep into the use of ayahuasca for treating addictions and connecting us to the natural world. Manuel is a founding member of Plantaforma, a Spanish association dedicated to promoting good practices and ethics for ayahuasca practitioners. He's a real deal, unlike those men bun sporting, Shipibo shirt wearing Instagram shamans who think a few jungle trips make them spiritual guides. I've had the incredible pleasure of attending many of his ceremonies, and let me tell you, they are nothing short of magical. Today, we're going to explore how ayahuasca and the teaching of the Indigenous Shipibo culture can inspire a deeper connection to our planet and spark a revolution in how we approach climate change, Woodstock style.
Not polluting, becoming vegetarian. This movement started by psychedelics even before we were talking about global warming.
So, if you're curious about the healing power of plant medicines, the wisdom of the Amazon, and how spiritual awakening might just be what the doctor ordered for our ailing planet, you won't want to miss this episode. Stay tuned, get comfortable, and let's journey into the heart of the Amazon with Manuel Villaescusa. Trust me, it's going to be an enlightening ride. No man buns required. Hi, Manuel. How are you? Hola, ¿cómo estás?
Hola, Lisa. All good, thank you. You're doing good, yes?
I'm very well, thank you. You are in Spain, right?
I am in Madrid, that's correct.
In Madrid. Fantastic. So, for those who might not know, can we call you a shaman? How you like you to be called? Now it's becoming such a terrible name because everybody wants to be a shaman, you know?
Yeah. No, I think the word shaman belongs to the cultures that have like a shamanic history, a shamanic culture. In our culture, I would say that the shamans don't exist since like thousands of years. But I am a psychologist and I am working in the fields of psychedelics. Of course, this is a line of work that has a lot to do with shamanism, but I don't go around, presenting myself as a shaman, not at all.
You are a guide.
I'm a psychedelic therapist.
Oh, I love that. Absolutely. And we came to you to have beautiful ceremonies around the world, and you're incredibly talented, both in the spirit world and also as a musician. You're fantastic.
Thank you.
Let's start, first of all, like we ask everybody, do you think, are we fucked?
I would say that in a certain degree, we definitely are. But there can be a lot of differences between the degree in which we are fucked. If we do things good, from now on, we can be just slightly fucked. If we don't do anything about it, we will be fucked. Yes, I would say.
Yeah. So the reason why I wanted to talk to you is because there is a renaissance of psychedelics.
Yeah.
I want to know if this can help people get connected to nature. Because we interviewed before somebody who created a whole movement on psychedelics for climate action, which is getting people through psychedelics to love nature, appreciate it, and protect it. Do you agree with that? And do you think that can contribute to saving the planet, basically?
Yes, absolutely. And there is some research that supports all the research done with subjects that have gone through psychedelic experiences. One of the results is consistently greater respect and appreciation for nature, So this is something that has clearly been observed as an effect of participating in psychedelic sessions. There is like a discovery of the power and of nature. It's like also discovering our role as stewards of nature, our role of humans of stewardship towards nature. And this is something that is very interesting because it's quite consistent with different psychedelics, with mushrooms, ayahuasca, or LSD. And consistently people report this kind of discovering nature as if for the first time.
And in your personal experience, apart from the clinical trials, you've done how many ceremonies, ayahuasca ceremonies you led? And I'm sure you've seen a big difference before and after.
Yeah. Well, I've been working in 20 years.
Wow.
And I've calculated that participated in more than 1,500 ceremonies. I must be near the 2,000. It's
What?
20 years of work.
Amazing.
Yeah, that's quite a lot of people. Yeah, and one thing that I have seen very often is like this discovering of the consciousness of nature, because especially the plant that we take in those ceremonies, they come from cultures that are animistic. So they believe that
Yeah.
every plant has a spirit, like nature has a spirit, has a consciousness. And when you take or drink that plant, you welcome the spirit of that plant inside of you, and you can communicate with this plant consciousness. This is something that in our modern rationalistic scientific culture, completely on the contrary, is like we don't believe in a spiritual dimension. We certainly don't believe that nature can have a consciousness. So there are two worldviews completely different, completely opposed. And when we participate in those rituals, those ceremonies, it's like it becomes quite easy to discover and to adopt the animistic worldview. When you have drunk a glass of ayahuasca, all of a sudden the animistic worldview starts making a lot of sense.
Definitely.
Yeah, and after this, it becomes much more difficult to behave towards nature in an exploitative way, because it's like
Yeah, definitely.
the natural reaction to an experience like that is to develop respect towards nature and everything that is alive. Another thing that we discover is like everything is interconnected. So if we destroy nature, we are destroying ourselves ultimately, because everything is connected. And this is something that you can not only understand, but experiment to perceive when we participate in those ceremonies.
Absolutely. Ayahuasca, I think, made me one of those weird people who talk to trees now and plants.
Definitely.
And I love it. It's great. I'm embracing my weirdness now.
Definitely.
So, for those who haven't done ayahuasca yet, can you tell us a little bit, very briefly, what it is and what you can see and what you can achieve by taking this medicine plant?
Ayahuasca is a potion that is used in most of the Amazonian jungle. And it's a potion composed by usually two plants, the vine, ayahuasca, and some leaves called runa or chaliponga in Colombia, for instance, that contain DMT, dimethyltryptamine. It's a psychedelic mix between the harmin and harmaline from the ayahuasca and the DMT from the leaves of the chacruna. And it's a potion that has visionary effect, and it's used in most of the Amazonian tribes as a way of healing, a way of understanding the nature around, and they can use it for divination, they can use it for conflict resolution, they can use it also for getting to know themselves more, to grow as human beings. So it's a very, very important part of the culture of Amazonian tribal people. And since the 80s, spread to Europe and America, and now you can find ayahuasca in most parts of the world, at least in most Western countries. It's quite common that you can find ayahuasca ceremonies all over the place, at least here in Spain, but in most parts of Europe.
Yeah.
There has been like adaptation of the traditional Amazonian use to Western use, but most of the important things of the traditional indigenous use, I believe, it's still intact in the Western, more like psychotherapeutic use. So this thing I was talking to you about before, this idea that the plants have consciousness, and by drinking ayahuasca, you can connect with that consciousness and learn from it.
Yeah. Incredible wiseness, incredible knowledge. And yeah, it's profound. Every time it's a profound experience. And what can people see when they drink it, for example?
Well, it depends a lot on every individual. It's like the classical ayahuasca visions, especially if you go to the jungle animals. Is like one of the most common visions can be the anaconda snake or the jaguar or the hummingbird, the colibri.
The
This
condor.
is the condor, the eagle. This is all the typical vision. But usually what I have seen is like what comes up is what is in the depths of the person's psyche. You can call it the subconscious, or you can call it what is deeper. So if there are some memories of childhood, of which something happened, if there is a trauma or a difficulty, this will appear. It depends a lot as well on the setting of the ceremonies, how you prepare it. For instance, in Brazil, there are many churches that use ayahuasca as a sacrament, and during the
Mm.
ceremony, they are singing hymn to Jesus, to the Virgin Mary, to the archangel. Of course, it can happen very often that people have visions of the Virgin Mary, of Jesus, of the angel. So let's
Mm.
say that most psychedelics, they allow one like profound state of suggestibility. So if you
Mm.
are like singing to Jesus, probably you're going to have a vision of Jesus. If you sing to the
Yeah.
anaconda or sing to the jaguar, you're probably going to see something like that.
Yeah.
And as I said, what I have, if there is some issue in your life that is like dominant or is like alive,
Or traumatic.
yeah, this is going to probably turn up. Yes.
And help you, of course, because it's going to put
Yeah.
in a different angle that you can process it and then get over it, kind of thing, right?
Yes, this is also part of the suggestibility that I mentioned before, that all the ceremony, all the participants, the person guiding the participant, the songs that are sung, they are all like singing towards healing, towards
Mm.
understanding, towards opening the heart. So this is like common intention that is created by all the participants. So when this contents emerge, when the conflicts or the traumas or the difficulties emerge, there is this current in the ceremony that has this strong intention for healing and for like working on the issue. And this is why most of the times something like this happens. As well, ayahuasca has a purging effect. So everyone has buckets in front of them. So the person very often vomits, and when they are vomiting, they can experience they are vomiting their anger, they are vomiting
Yeah.
their shame, they are vomiting their guilt.
I remember that.
Yes.
And you can visually see it. You can see the universe, as you said, trauma being vomited. It's actually fun. At the beginning, you're like, I don't want to vomit. I was like, oh no, you're gonna love vomiting eventually.
Yeah, that's true. And especially the people love how they feel after vomiting is like a
Yeah.
profound sense of release. And yeah.
But there is a bit of magic because a lot of people see similar things at the same time, which it's weird that afterwards we share together what we've seen and there is always some common elements. We're like, oh my God, I've seen it too. And everybody have seen the same thing, which kind of, it's weird, it's magic. And you feel like, okay, there is definitely more than just psychology here and suggestibility. I don't know, the things you see as well, it feels like you are seeing a different world, a different dimension, where nature is something that we all are, we're all interconnected, we're all part of this thing that we call Pachamama. And other culture would call it maybe differently, but it's an amazing experience, definitely it is. But in your own experience, seeing so many people doing it and related to nature and how they feel afterwards, is there hope for this world that psychedelics can help change things?
Well, I believe like there is this like movement or tendency in the Western countries to participate in those rituals. It's like tens of thousands of people are doing something like that every week in many countries. So it's like a movement, no? And this movement has also a set of values, and in those values, the protection of nature ranks quite high. Is one of the priorities that appear when we start like participating in that culture. So first of all, the retreats, most of the time they take place in nature. It's like very few people, I believe, take ayahuasca in the cities. Usually they go to the countryside. So it's very important to be in touch with nature when you're going through those experiences. So this as well helps people to be more in touch with nature, getting out of the city, having a walk in the mountains. This is already something that teaches appreciation. Yeah, I believe that it's not a coincidence that now that we are on the verge of ecological crisis, at the same time, there is this psychedelic renaissance. And I think it's all linked. And the world of
Oh, wow.
psychedelic, it's mostly, it has a lot of connection with environmental movements and activity. So there is a connection between both worlds, definitely.
So do you think maybe this was also a divine intervention or something? Because I kind of like to think, as you said, that it's not a coincidence. Is it the chicken or the egg that started first? Is it the psychedelics that helped the movement, or it's we need this, and so for some reasons there is this sort of renaissance of psychedelics?
Well, some people can call it coincidences, other people call them synchronicities. That is another word for meaningful coincidence.
I love that.
Yeah, since the onset of the psychedelic in our culture with the discovery of LSD, already some people were noting that the discovery of LSD and the discovery of the atomic bomb were more or less done at the same time. If you remember, there was like when the LSD started like creating the counterculture, Vietnam, the protests, the Vietnam War, and then the hippie movement. They were the first started like spreading the word of ecology, living in nature, not polluting, becoming vegetarian. This movement was started by psychedelics even before we were talking about global warming. I mean, there was already an awareness that our lifestyle was polluting and was unsustainable, but that was from the beginning. And then in the 80s, the 90s, there was like this ayahuasca boom that is still going on. And there are some curanderos, some shamans from the Amazon jungle, they say that it's the vine that wants to spread all over the world for protecting the planet. That's what they believe.
Wow.
Yeah.
I always listen to the curanderos.
Yes.
They're so wise and they pass so much amazing knowledge to us today. So, have you also led ceremonies with politicians and people can really influence things? I heard that a lot of the politicians are doing these kind of things. There was also the World Economic Forum even had shamans during this event leading ceremonies.
Yeah, in the Davos Economic Forum, there was all shamanic activities, and yeah, that's true. No, in my circles, I've never had any politician. Unfortunately, I would really love to. So if there is any politician listening to this podcast, yeah, please contact me. We'll be very happy to.
Yeah, go because it's amazing.
Yes, thanks.
It's true. So let's now tackle the issue of sustainability of harvesting the plant because, as I said, it's becoming such a huge thing doing ayahuasca that it is a problem for harvesting because they are cutting youngest ayahuasca vines because they need to supply the market. It's an issue. So can you tell us more about that and what also you're doing and a lot of other people are trying to do?
Yeah, of course. Overharvesting is definitely a problem. There are areas like, for instance, Iquitos, that is like the main ayahuasca city in Peru. Iquitos has run out of ayahuasca years ago already. So they have to import it from, it's like there is no more ayahuasca around Iquitos. So they import it from other parts of Peru and they have to import it by boat. It's like they have definitely
it's crazy
overharvest them. And what is funny is like years ago when ayahuasca didn't had this interest for Westerners, it was considered like a pest, like a weed, because it's like a vine that can grow over a fruit tree, for instance. So people from Iquitos, they still remember when they had like a ayahuasca infection in their garden. I say, oh no, ayahuasca. And then they start cutting and burning it.
No.
And now they remember that and they say, no, oh my God, why did I do that?
Funny.
Yes, the thing with ayahuasca is that you need at least 6 years and better still 8 years since the vine is planted before you can use it. So it's quite a long process of getting ready. So it's very, very important that there is this kind of practice of planting every time that you harvest, like planting again and harvesting in a sustainable way. I source from Ecuadorian farm from Ecuador, when they have this kind of very careful plan for replanting everything that they harvest to make sure that it's sustainable. In Brazil as well, they do
Great.
very good work, because the people from the religion of the Santo Daime, for instance, that are tens of thousands of people drinking ayahuasca, every time that they cut one ayahuasca vine, they plant 2 of them,
Amazing.
and they send to a special government agency the GPS location of where this ayahuasca has been planted.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's very well taken care of. Yeah. They even send a report on all the wood that they have cut for making the fire for brewing the ayahuasca, because you need like a few days with boiling under fire for preparing the ayahuasca. So they also they take care of that as well. And this is very, very important, because if you don't do something like this, then it happens like in Iquitos, that now for finding some ayahuasca, they have to go days inside of the jungle. And before you could
Wow.
find it
Yeah.
everywhere, basically. Another thing that is happening is that ayahuasca is being planted in other parts of the world successfully. So for instance, now there are huge plantations of ayahuasca in the islands of Hawaii.
Oh, really?
Yes, and it's a very kind of high quality, powerful ayahuasca that is coming from Hawaii.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And what about in Europe? Can you grow around the Mediterranean? Is it the right climate? Asking for a friend.
Yeah, no, it's difficult. It's very difficult.
Oh, damn.
In Andalusia, in the south of Spain, that it's like a tropical climate. Some people here in Spain have managed successfully to grow ayahuasca there. The problem there is that to buy land to plant ayahuasca is incredibly expensive, because being a tropical microclimate, there is a lot of farms of mangoes, avocados, all like expensive fruit, so it's not easy.
Fuck fruit. Let's plant ayahuasca.
Okay, fuck fruit. It is not something that an ayahuasca research.
I know, I'm kidding.
Fruit is very important.
Come on, like having tropical fruits in Europe, we should actually work with what it's around instead of forcing a lot of the times these tropical things that it don't belong. They require a lot of water that we don't have. I think, aren't you guys in Spain, for example, harvesting a lot of avocados, which requires a lot of water?
Yes, it's true. That needs a lot of water. Maybe we are fucked.
I'm convincing you now. You're supposed to convince us that we're not.
Yeah, I think also that all these ecological crises, it's a consequence of the culture that we lived in, the Western culture, that has become very, very materialistic, exploitative. Some people talk about the loss of enchantment of reality, because of like everything is too much scientific, is falling into what it's called scientism. Believe that only that can be scientifically proven is real or correct. And unfortunately, this is a way of being in this planet that then it becomes difficult to find meaning, to find like a good relationship with nature, or a good relationship with the planet we live in. The meaning for most people in our society is earning as much money as possible, and be successful, and buy as many things as we can, and then die, basically. So it's like there is no space for a spiritual dimension. One consequence of this, I believe, it's like a bad relationship with nature, with the environment, as a consequence of the blindness of an awareness of what nature is. And the psychedelics, what they usually do is that they open up meaning in life, the spiritual dimension, so that there is much, much more apart from the career, financial success, consumption. There is far much more in our existence. It's like there is a process of re-enchantment.
Yeah.
And we start noticing synchronicities, noticing little miracles, and all the magical part of life. As you mentioned, you can communicate with a tree, or you can realize that when you feel extremely happy is walking amongst nature without having to buy or sell anything. So I really believe that this psychedelic renaissance hopefully can bring a shift into popular culture, especially now that this year it's expected that in the USA, psilocybin and MDMA are going to be approved by the Food and Drug Administration as medicaments, as legal treatments.
That would be amazing.
Yeah, on a national scale. So that means that millions of people are going to be exposed to this experience. And hopefully there can be a shift, like a momentum, like a tipping point of enough people realizing that the life of consumerism and work is ultimately meaningless. And this can be a catalyst for a change in our relationship with nature, to learn how to relate to nature with respect. One very interesting thing about the relationship with plants that I very often mention in the ceremonies is the relationship that we have with plants, like, for instance, tobacco or coca leaves. Is like in the Amazon and in the Andes, the tobacco leaf and the coca leaf are medicines. They are not harmful at all. It's like they are treated with respect. They are consumed ritually. They are used as medicine with no health problems whatsoever, because they see these plants, these leaves, as having a spirit, as being sacred. So they develop a relationship with those plants as we would develop a relationship with a person. It's a relationship of respect, a relationship of reciprocity, healthy relationship. And so it's something fruitful and positive for the person using them traditionally. What happens in the West? When we imported tobacco, that very soon was used massively already in the 16th, 17th century in Europe. Lots of people, we don't know about that now, but lots of people were doing rapé. Most of the people were doing rapé. Yes, everyone, or priests, soldiers, normal lay people. It was very, very common. And a lot of people smoked. But what happened that when this plant was imported in Europe, nobody said that it was a sacred shamanic plant, because at those times that would have meant the Inquisition burning you if you said that there was like a spirit in that plant. It was like something, spirituality was very much confined to the Catholic Church that was very aggressive towards anyone having alternative views on spirituality. So what happened? That the exploitative and mindless relationship happened with that plant. So people start using tobacco as another object of consumption, using it not ritually, using it, abusing it, and then it became what is now a major health problem. Millions of people die from tobacco-related diseases every year, millions. And this is because of ignorance. People smoking cigarettes in the West have no idea they are consuming a very powerful shamanic plant. And the shamanic plants, they are like people, they are like persons. If you treat them with respect and reciprocity, they will help you back. They will have a good relationship with you, and they will help you. If you treat them like ignoring them, abusing them, they are going to kill you.
Exactly.
It's plants that have power, and they can destroy you, and they do.
Yeah.
2/3 of smokers die because of that.
That's crazy.
And with cocaine, it's the same. With cocaine,
it's
like it destroys lives as well.
It's crazy. I read something really interesting from one of my favorite authors on ayahuasca, Jeremy Narby. He wrote The Cosmic Serpent, and also he wrote another book, which I'm going to tell the story from, which is about tobacco, because tobacco, as you said, is a master plant. It's incredibly powerful, and it helps you with your intentions. So help you achieve what you set your mind to. And big corporations that produce cigarettes, their intention is to make money. And that's what they use tobacco. And tobacco made them a lot of money and ended up being addictive because of its intrinsic property of tobacco. Which I think is like, wow, that's true. The intention of cigarette companies wanting to make money, and tobacco made it possible for them, because that's what tobacco does. It's really cool.
That's it.
Well, terrible, but cool kind of.
Yeah, it's exactly the thing as with coca leaves or with cocaine. It's like the coca leaves in the Andes, they are taken with respect. They are chewed for their medicinal properties. They alleviate hunger. They alleviate fatigue. They stimulate cognitive ability. It's like it's a very profound healing plant. But when the narcos take the coca leaves and they extract the alkaloid, they extract cocaine, and then they flood the streets of North America and Europe with them, it's something that becomes incredibly destructive because it's the same. It's like taking a plant without any respect and abusing it.
Yeah,
And then
absolutely.
what happens is as I say, it's like there are persons, they are like powerful persons, they are like powerful curanderos. In fact, most of the songs of this tradition, they address those plants as powerful poderosos curanderos. And they are powerful because they can destroy you. I mean, I've worked with cocaine addicts as a therapist in substance abuse treatments. And I've seen people completely destroyed by cocaine, completely destroyed.
That's sad.
Yeah, it's very sad, but it's exactly the same. All those people, like millions of people, snorting lines of cocaine now in the West, they have no idea that they are taking a very powerful shamanic plant, but they are taking it with ignorance. They are taking without respect.
Yeah.
They don't know what they do, and as they don't know what they do, they get hurt. It's exactly like this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really interesting. Thank you so much for joining us and for bringing some positivity and some hope for the future.
Yes.
I'm sure we'll see you again in a ceremony settings, and we'll wait for you here in Sardinia too.
Oh, I will be very happy to go. Thank you so much, Lisa.
Great. Thank you, Manuel. We'll catch you soon.
Bye-bye.
Wow, what a fascinating journey we've been on today, exploring the synchronicity of the Vietnam War and the renaissance of psychedelics and now of climate change. We've delved into the dangerous misuse of sacred plants like cocaine and tobacco and discussed how perhaps it's time to return to a deeper spirituality. So put down your rolled up dollar bill and start hugging trees, guys. A huge thank you to Manuel Villaescusa for sharing his wisdom and insights. If you want to learn more about the incredible work he's doing, be sure to check out Plantaforma at plantaforma.org. This podcast series is produced by Against Films. To learn more about our work and other projects, visit againstfilms.com. And don't forget, new episodes drop every Wednesday. So set your reminders, subscribe, and if you enjoyed this episode, please rate it and share with your friends and loved ones. Thank you for tuning in, Climate Warriors. Until next time, stay informed, stay engaged, and keep fighting the good fight. This is Lisa Camillo signing off. Take care and remember, the future is ours to shape.